What's going on? All the great people in all the land. I'm your guy, Nicholas Wilcox, alongside my co-host, the one and only Johnny Main. And below me, the one and only, the awesome one, Mike Rip in the house. Mike, say what's up to the great people.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me, man. I'm always here to support creators and people that are doing cool stuff, and appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight. And big shout out to you, Nick and Johnny. And let's talk, man. I've in years past, I did a lot of these shows, a lot of creation of my content, and people asking me all sorts of stuff. And this year, I'm a little bit more busy in the real world and not so much digitally, but glad to make time. And this is going to be sort of first time a lot of my takes are going to be out there for people to hear. So I'm pumped to share it with you guys and hear what you guys think and hear what your thoughts are on the big season. And I love talking football. I'm ready for it. Let's rock and roll.
Woo! Let's go, baby. She got me hyped, man.
Let's do it.
Got me hyped.
Awesome. The Fantasy Football Show, Campfire Takes with Mike Rip. We got some Scott Fish Bowl rosters to go over as well. We got some interview questions for Mike because, Mike, we got to let people know what you all about. And we're going to get into some Campfire Takes, some hot takes, bold takes for the upcoming NFL fantasy season. Without further ado, gonna go right into the news around the league. This is where all the camp news and all these, updates of, this guy's gonna be this and this. It's like, let's pump the brakes, or hey, let's keep on rolling the train here. As we all know, let's just start with the elephant in the room, right? You guys know what the elephant in the room is?
Me?
No one's got a guess.
Not me, right?
No, not you. You're not an elephant.
All right. No.
All right, never mind. Everyone's talking about Braylon Allen and the Jets and how Breece Hall and it's gonna be all a committee. Apparently Braylon Allen has been a standout in camp according to ESPN's Rick Cimini. Basically been standing out and they're splitting backs and stuff like that, but we'll have to be seeing how Breece Hall and stuff like that goes. But it'll be interesting to note on that as well. We got our boy Vince in the house saying what's good. We are legends. Thank you very much. Apparently he's checking us out at work, so we appreciate that.
Love that.
Dedication, love it. Juwan Jennings didn't practice today. He's got this calf injury going on. Apparently right around the corner from getting his contract extension. So remains to be seen if he'll get there or not. I'm assuming that he will, but time will tell. Cortland Sutton lands a contract extension with Denver worth $92 million on a 4-year contract extension. Second time last season that he went over 1,000 yards receiving. So that was Cortland Sutton in Denver. And, things are looking up in Denver in general. In terms of all the buzz and everything that's considered. Browns running back news. Jerome Ford, limited participant today. But obviously Dylan Sampson has been dominating camp lines, has been the guy that's been in and out in terms of, reps ever since the, Judkins news dropped. Man, talk about a guy that was out in front of ADP and now is dropping like a stone. In certain formats, in most formats, I should say. There's that. Other news, Justin Fields earlier, several days ago, we all got that scare from Justin Fields where we didn't know what was happening. Turned out just to be his toe, end up coming practice next day, and everything's all good. Went on 11-on-11 practice today. No issues there. Justin Fields still should be going where he should be going for ADP currently. Whether you're a fan of his or not. Pretty much that. And then Ricky Pearsall activated from the pup list today or the other day. And so he's starting to get some reps in now for the Niners. So we'll see how that goes. And that's pretty much the news for me.
Dig that. Well, I'm glad my boy Cortland Sutton got paid finally. Put some respect on his name. And I was actually looking at some stuff that was actually kind of interesting just in respect to Cortland Sutton and Terry McLaurin, age, situation, and just how things are being handled with both of those receivers are not being handled. But definitely glad Cortland Sutton got his money and got paid. And, Dylan Sampson, man, no shock for me at this point with him as far as being a standout. I think he was one of the better values in the draft for sure. And obviously, sometimes, man, all it takes is just one domino to fall, man. And, not to completely tip a hand or anything, but Dylan Sampson's a guy I love. Been snagging him up late in a lot of best balls. And just recently, my Scott Fish Bowl, man. So
that's awesome, too. Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, you guys made some good points there. You talked about Dylan Sampson. It's a guy that's rising quickly through what we've seen this offseason with the Crenshaw Dawkins news. And so I think that if you got him on your Scott Fish Bowl team, if you got him in other leagues, he's got a real opportunity here to elevate into a role that can be very valuable in fantasy. So I like that call. I mean, as far as, what you talked about with Braylon Allen, not so keen on the whole Jet situation. I still believe in Brees, and Brees has already come out and said that he has to earn his keep. This isn't his, this new coaching staff and new organizational, view is not someone that they didn't draft him. They're not his guys, but he can prove, and I think he's talented enough to prove to them that he's the guy. So if anything, I'd probably look a little bit more towards Isaiah over Braylon. But I mean, I like Braylon. He's just young. I'm not really touching anyone for the Jets at the running back position. But some of the news is, you like to see guys getting paid like Cortland and stuff. So it's, it's early it's still early in training camp, and you got to give it some time to let these things develop. But I would just say my thought is that, don't pay too much attention to early training camp reports. It's going to change a lot. And when there's no one playing defense, it's a lot easier to look really good.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I love it. All right. So we're going to get into the interview with Mr. Rip himself. Got some questions for him and just a little bit more of a background. So we want to welcome him officially to the show. Rip, what got you into fantasy overall? What was like the background story? You got a good one, got a bad one, an embarrassing one? What's up?
Well, it's not embarrassing. No, look, I like many of the people that play in fantasy and just in general in sports, I like sports. So the fact that I love sports, eventually you stop competing necessarily. And so this is a way that you could still kind of compete in sports and have kind of you're a general manager, you're the coach, you get to pick your players. So fantasy allows you to do that, which is really fun. And ultimately I'm someone that is super analytical. I went to school for business and finance, and that involves numbers. And so no better way to do stuff with numbers than do sports. And so fantasy sports is just that perfect center spot for me to try to put my acumen to the test against other people. And then you just wish that luck. You just always hope that you get the luck on your side, because no matter what, don't let them fool you. You could be really good. You need a lot of luck.
True.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dang right about that. For real. What is the most memorable moment you've had in this space? So for example, if you've had like you have a home league in terms of who has bragging rights, stuff like that year after year. Was a DFS contest? Was it best ball, whatever dynasty? What was it for you?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy one right here, actually. A lot of people started following me from one of this moment, and a lot of people were already following me from before that, but I got a pretty big profile specifically when my content got on the Pat McAfee show. So when Pat McAfee shouted me out, gave me a good run with my Monday tidbits, which I was doing last year and the year before. I've always come up with new segments that I put together each season. And so Pat McAfee show was pretty big, obviously the biggest sports show kind of going, at least up there. Yeah, that was huge. So for everyone that followed me before that, and then everyone that started following me after that, was really exciting. And it's just been fun to connect with a lot of people, because ultimately, a lot of people, you take this stuff seriously, but for me, it's about meeting everyone and having a good time while doing it. So that's the most memorable moment.
Dig that. I popped on your profile today, and I see the pin there, man, and I was like, oh dude, I was like, he got the Pat McAfee shout out. I was like, okay. And ironically enough, it was about the Cleveland Browns. Ironically enough, I was like, "Yo, that's fire, man. That's fire, dude."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like your background, you mentioned analytics, and you mentioned, obviously this is the center point. Like, what type of edge do you feel like that gives you, just in the fantasy space overall?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because nowadays there's so much content out there. Everybody is creating, their own content. You can literally read whatever you want about any player, good, bad, and different. And honestly, I think what gives me the edge is that since I've been doing it for so long, and I kind of don't dive in too much to everyone's stuff and try to think differently. I think that the hardest thing is to think differently.
Yeah.
The more that you consume, the more you get sucked into the kind of groupthink, for good or for worse. And at some levels, I always have the saying, like, if you're following ADP, then what are you going to come out to be? Like, average draft position is just going to allow you to be average. So you might as well go for it. So I'm always a risk reward guy. Like, I'd rather finish last than, second. Like, I'm going for broke all the time. And with that being said, I don't really follow like ADP the way industry people do, because ultimately that's just a lot of people's thoughts together. And I'd rather have my own thoughts, even if I'm going to be way wrong, so I think about it longer term. Like, not every year am I going to crush it, but I think over the long term, I'm going to crush it most of the time. And that's my edge, is just being different. And I would say that to everybody listening and watching, and you guys in general, keep doing your own thing and try not to get too sucked into whatever everybody else is doing. So I honestly steer clear of a lot of content that's out there. I like to look at it, or I listen to a lot of stuff just to hear thoughts, but I don't really let that make the judgment for me. It allows me to sort of take what I value, because I watch the games. I know the players from going from college to the NFL, and I allow that to be my dictating thing. Just as a diehard sports fan and someone that's into numbers, I let that really kind of steer the ship.
Yeah, no, like, I definitely like that right there. I think, obviously Nick and I just, over the last 2 years really doing this, I think one of the bigger takes like I've actually had, and I'm glad you hammered that home, was, at the end of the day, man, it's everybody's thoughts. Everybody has their own individual thoughts, their own individual opinions, and just being different. And, I always say, man, like, the people that are really good, like, they're either going to be really good or they're going to be really bad. And like, there is no in between. And that in between, to your point, man, is that ADP guy that people just stare at, and that's what they move off of, man. So I'm glad you called that out. I want to talk about something a little bit sadder here. You're a Dolphins fan. Is that true?
That is false, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let me correct the statement, because you're not wrong, actually.
Okay.
It is sad. I was a Dolphins fan for 30 years, and in fact, I had a lengthy post about this at the end of last season, that I gave up being a Dolphins fan. At the end of last year. I must have missed
that. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I actually had to leave the fandom behind. I don't know if that will be forever. It's hard to say, but honestly, as someone that grew up with Dan Marino and someone that supported the team for so many regimes and so many years, it's just like, at a certain point, you have to stop taking the abuse, and you have to look and open. You have to, like, when the organization doesn't care about their fans, then why do the fans have to care about the organization? So that was what I kind of came up to the conclusion last year. They didn't make any changes. Chris Greer continuously has made terrible decisions. Stephen Ross doesn't give a damn about the fans. He just cares about making the money. Mike McDaniel cares about looking cool, but he doesn't actually care about winning. I mean, Tyreek Hill quit on the team in week 18, and he's still on the team. Like, he quit in the middle of the game. Yeah. I don't understand how you could bring him back. Nonetheless, it's not my team anymore. I literally cannot imagine myself coming back to the team until maybe a complete new organization was in place from the ownership down. So I'm actually like what you would consider like a free agent. I was kind of looking around, like thinking, like, is there another team I like? Could I? It's hard, as someone that's like, I'm not like that. I just have a few teams across sports that I like and nothing else. But the good thing about football is you could like your players and your fantasy squads or your bets. So it's like, it makes it easier. And I don't need to be tormented by the Dolphins anymore. So yeah, it was sad. It's not sad anymore because it actually doesn't affect me. I couldn't care less.
Love it. So who are you scoping right now, man? Who's looking cute to you?
Yeah, right. Like, been taking a couple double glances when I look left, look right. look, I lived out in LA for over a decade, so there's a connection to the Chargers. I was a huge proponent of Jim Harbaugh when they, I had some stuff out there about when he was still at Michigan that I think whoever hired Jim Harbaugh was going to have a tremendous coach, and I thought the Chargers were going to do tremendous by hiring him, and so they did. I'm not surprised by that. So there was a part of me that was thinking the Chargers, they made sense when I was young. I played football, and we were the Chargers, my school. So I kind of thought that, but then it didn't really fit. It's like one of those things you just kind of like. It has to fit. Yeah. So I don't know until I see this season and I start seeing, like, I've thought about, could I be a Bengals fan, but that feels weird. I thought, could I support the Raiders this year? Cause I spent time in Vegas and I'll talk to you guys about this in a little bit. One of the things I'm really bullish on this year is the silver and black. And I'll tell you why, but there is no actual team right now. I'm just going into, I love football, so I can watch the games without having a team, especially because what have I had for the last, 15, 20 years? I mean, the Dolphins haven't been winning. So, so I just root for my fantasy teams and call it a day.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take one sidebar here because you mentioned the Chargers. I actually just want to kind of put a feeler out for you just about Omarion Hampton in that situation. And I know you had mentioned that you hadn't really had a chance to really put out a lot of your fantasy takes so far this year, but Omarion Hampton is somebody for me that earlier on in the process, I thought that his ADP was a little bit too high, just given the situation. Obviously, I'm a Steelers fan, so having Najee there and just having respect and knowing there's two capable backs there between Najee and Omarion. Now with this Najee situation, what's your take on Omarion Hampton? Is he somebody that you would be moving up on draft boards into maybe like the second or third round? Or do you think having him hang out around the fourth round is about where he should be going?
Yeah, no, I think that Omarion Hampton has a tremendous opportunity in this LA Chargers offense, especially, it's unfortunate what happened to Najee for sure. You hate to see that, but it really does, make you question what Najee's role could potentially even be at this point. Who knows when he's going to come back? There's no belief in my opinion, in Kamani Vidal. And so this is a great opportunity for Omarion Hampton to have a massive impact as a rookie coming out. And I liked last season. I was very bullish on the running game in LA, specifically because of who they have in that offense, the way Jim Harbaugh likes to play football. It's like they like to have a smash mouth game. People that followed me last year know that I was bullish on the train of last season, picking both J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards late in drafts because you didn't have to spend a lot of capital. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out, but I knew that running game was going to be valuable. I expect it to be extremely valuable this season, and I expect Omarion Hampton to be one of the better players and picks you can make. The thing is, it's always dependent on your draft. It's so hard to give people advice and say you should do this when you don't know what your opportunity cost is. But Omarion Hampton is a guy I would want on all my teams.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I have for that with Hampton is willing to keep him. So, for example, right? Every draft room is different. So with Hampton, is he an RB that we could be like, he could be the hero RB in a build of hero RB, or do you want him as your RB2 in hopes that I don't have to rely on him every week until we know more of the role that's happening with him? Does that make sense in terms of a build perspective? Because I like to do a lot of builds per se in terms of I want to grab a guy here for the build on this versus, like you said, giving someone actual advice hey, let's draft this guy here because it is. But what's your opportunity cost? It could be going second round.
It always comes down to opportunity cost. It comes down to the type of the league settings and who you're playing with. In my opinion, if we're talking redraft leagues, you're playing 10, 12 teamers. I want Omarion Hampton as an RB2. I don't want to build my team on him. That's too high of a risk that he's my RB1 when I know who I could have as my RB1 and I could still have him. So I want him as an RB2 because I know he has that upside if he hits at the next level to be an RB1. And that's how you're winning. That's how you're winning, right? You got to find the ultimate upside. So he's a guy with that ultimate upside from the RB2 level I see. So I don't want to build with him at RB1 because in a 10 or 12 teamer, I think I should be able to build a squad that's so deep and sick in talent with upside that if he's my RB2, I'm rolling. If he's my RB1, it's pretty risky.
Okay. And that's fair. I mean, because I would want him as my RB2 as well. Because if I'm building around him, it's a bit risky.
Yeah,
There are some really great receivers.
Here's how we're playing. This is I think I can. I'm not the best fantasy player ever, obviously, but I'm pretty good. Like I can almost guarantee generally year in, year out that in redraft leagues, I'm going to be competitive. I know this because this is where you build a fantasy team in a redraft league. You want to have like at the start of your drafts, everybody's getting good players. You don't know about the injuries. Like that's going to be random, but we're all going to hit on our first few rounds. Like that's how it goes. It's about hitting later. So like, I know year in, year out because of the amount of research and the amount that I know about the league that I'm going to guys from round 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm throwing darts at that point at the highest upside guys. I'm not hitting everyone, but I'm hitting a few of them. Once you put that together with your first few, studs, you got a squad that's always competitive every year. And in redraft leagues, unless you're playing with like sharp people across the league, people just leave opportunity out there all the time. So it's like Amari and Hampton to me, I want him as my RB2 if I can get him in, rounds 3, 4, 5. It depends the league, the draft, but I don't want him as my RB1 because then I've done something wrong.
Dig that. All right. So you were talking about, guys that, you like to throw darts at around 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Who's a guy that's going, round 12 that you feel like could be a potential league winner?
Yeah, so I kind of like looked through this a little bit. You guys got some good questions for me, and I'm gonna throw a one guy at each position.
All right,
that has a chance. Now, there's a couple more names. It could change, it could evolve, but let's start at quarterback. It's gonna sound crazy, but like at quarterback, I just looked because you guys sent me what we should use, right? The rankings. I had this guy's number 230. So he doesn't cost anything. It doesn't even matter if he doesn't hit. It's useless. But Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Right? Like Anthony Richardson,
okay.
When he throws the ball, he can't hit the guy 4 yards from him. But guess what? What happens if he turns into Justin Fields? Like he just plays Justin Fields and you just got him for free at the end of your draft or free agency. So like he could theoretically be a league winner after round 12. The chances are very unlikely, but he's a guy after round 12. No one's talking about him. A year ago, he was like a top 5 pick at QB. Everybody had the upside that Anthony had. Now he can't throw the ball. There's all these things out there. There is a chance in a world that he could be a league winner at quarterback. So he's my quarterback at 230. At running back, you guys talked about him earlier. I got Dylan Sampson, 161.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. The opportunity knocks. And when opportunity knocks, you got to run through that door. And he's a guy that's going to run through that door, right? We saw him in college. Guy can play.
Yes.
It's just the question is, what is that Cleveland offense going to look like? Hard to say, right? But he's a guy. The opportunity is there now. I mean, Judkins might not even play. Like, who knows what the deal is? He's not signed, and this case could extend. Maybe he doesn't play. Sampson's a guy there. So I like him as a running back that could be a league winner. Let's go to wide receiver. 185 overall. Kyle Williams for the Patriots. I love Kyle Williams. I've been getting him everywhere in Dynasty, and I think he's got great opportunity. I like Drake May. This is a huge we've got Diggs there, but Diggs coming off injury. Who knows? I think Kyle Williams is vastly underrated. He's going to be in the perfect setup with Drake May. He's a guy, not going to win you your league, but he's the type of guy by the end of the season could be a wide receiver 3 in your flex and roll, and you got him for free, basically. And then finally, tight end. This is a guy that I've been pushing for years now. I think he's got the upside talent to be a top tight end in the league. He's 155 overall. Isaiah Likely for Baltimore. If Mark Andrews has an injury, something happens there. We've seen massive games from Likely. We just haven't seen massive seasons. Something happens there. They trade Andrews. I don't know. There's a chance that Isaiah Likely gets into that top 5 type of tight end. Could be a league winner after round 12.
Love it. I love it. No, I love the Dylan Sampson call, obviously, man. Like, that's my guy. Big UT fan over here. Obviously, SEC Player of the Year. Just, continue to keep gushing about him for sure. Kyle Williams, obviously, I think, like we're both up here. I'm in Maine, so obviously I hear just a lot about the Patriots overall. And Kyle Williams is obviously, he's had quite a buzz, for a hot minute up here. And then Isaiah Likely was a guy like I drafted a lot of last year. And of course I was taking my victory lap. Almost had a really big hit for like 9 or 10 grand, man, on that on FanDuel on that single game, having him at the MVP slot there. So took a couple victory laps, obviously didn't really pan out. And ironically enough, Anthony Richardson last year was my number 4 overall pick in the Scott Fish Bowl last year. So to hear you say that name, it just like made me cringe. Like,
dude, I remember
nightmares.
I wanted to pick him and I was upset because he got picked 9th. I ended up having the 10th pick last year in the league and I was mad he went 9th. But my point is, in 1 year, perception, and because you've seen 5-6 games, everything changes. The point is, sometimes you can't get the reward without the risk.
Yeah,
these guys are offering like no risk really. What's the risk? You pick them after round 12 and they don't work out. Okay, cool. You got someone else off the waivers. These are guys that have a chance if the things were to go right to hit hard.
So I'm going to throw out a player just to see like how you feel about him. Ironically enough, he's also on the Cleveland Browns as well, but a guy that like I've been taking a lot of later on in drafts. Cedric Tillman. How do you feel about him? What's your take on him after round 12?
I love Cedric Tillman. If you probably haven't seen my stuff enough, last year I was big on Cedric Tillman. I got Cedric Tillman across my dynasty. I think from a talent standpoint, the guy's a stud. Obviously, now what I'm hearing from you is you just like Tennessee, so you just take the boys. But here's the thing.
Yes and no.
He's a stud. My biggest issue about Ced is it's twofold. One, it's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right? Got to stay healthy. Concerns there. Even just yesterday, right? He left training. He left early. It seems like it's okay. Point being, the second part there, which is the real concern with Ced, is that what's the quarterback situation?
Yeah.
It's so in flux. I don't know what to think. Like, is it going to be Flacco? And then if Flacco is not the guy, are they going to go to Dylan Gabriel or are they going to go to Shedeur? Like, where's Pickett? I just have no idea how to read that situation, but I love Cedric Tillman as a player. Like, I think Cedric Tillman is one of the more underrated wide receivers that has elite talent to be a stud in the NFL. It's just about putting it together for more than 4 or 5 games and in the right opportunity.
Yeah, and yeah, man, I'm gonna take my boys all day long. Like at this type of cost, at this cost right here, I'm gonna take them. And then Cedric, obviously last year, man, like able to go get him off the waiver wire. I got like snake bit with injuries, man, with guys like Chris Olave and Ken Walker, George Pickens, right? Like a lot of guys. So like I had to go to the waivers and like obviously to see like one of my guys like they're doing his thing. Had to get it all in on that. Nick, who's your guy, man? Who's your guy?
So after round 12 for me, unfortunately, the guy people are already starting to talk about a little bit. And that's Tank Bigsby of the Jaguars.
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, again, people started talking about him, so I'm like, I gotta start talking about it now. So Tank Bigsby, obviously, it's a ambiguous backfield, so we always like looking for that after round 12, an opportunity for guys to have a lion's share or great opportunities in a decent offense. The Jaguars are a rebuilding overall offense, and there's questions about Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that. And, will he be really the guy and stuff like that? But obviously, I think he could definitely lead a decent offense and can make this fantasy relevant. Like, obviously, Brian Thomas out of this team last year made a lot of pop. But I'm going to take Bigsby because literally the numbers say so. With Tank Bigsby versus Travis Etienne, because Etienne was obviously like a guy that people were drafting like crazy coming into the year. But how does Etienne go from being a guy that we're drafting constantly to finishing as an RB35 last year?
I think it was RB6 or 7 the year before that, something like that.
Yeah, RB3 the year prior.
Okay, so yeah, RB3. Okay.
Yeah. So why? How does that happen, right? For one, I mean, the Jaguars weren't that great of a team, stuff like that. But even with Etienne, the drop off for him was wild. Versus Tank Bigsby, in terms of yardage, right? Like Tank Bigsby had a decent role in terms of second half of the year, but obviously down the stretch for the fantasy playoffs wasn't as efficient. I'll give you that. However, when it comes to Take Bigsby, 4.6 yards per carry versus ETN's 3.7. Missed tackles, Bigsby had 46, ETN had 17. For rushing yards, per carry per attempt, we had Take Bigsby for a statistic of 0.74 yards over expected per carry. That would be ninth best in the NFL last year. ETN was a minus 0.28 in that category. Pretty crazy stuff. Take Bigsby was fifth in PFF's elusive rate. So all these things to say, Bigsby going this late is pretty criminal in my eyes. I know people are excited about Beishan Tuin. I know people are still banking on ETN being a guy that he's going a little bit later. He could be, X, Y, or Z. But I do think Take Bigsby's role is safe, like in terms of being the first and second round runner. He could easily be the goal line back of the three. And a retooling offensive line for the Jaguars, like this could be an offense that, again, wins more games, are in situations where, they do want to run the rock. I could easily see Take Bigsby being a guy that is going after round 12, one of the sneakiest guys to pick up or just draft very late. And it's a guy that I'm banking on after round 12 to be a potential league winner.
Dig that.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's camera stuff, yo.
Anyway. All right. So next piece, I guess. Top.
You didn't talk about your guy.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman. That was my guy. I
thought you were just putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I don't like.
Okay.
I don't like. Listen, hey man, I ain't got nothing else to say, man. Like, I mean, there ain't nothing else to say. I mean, I can punch you off a couple stats real quick, to make you feel good.
It wasn't that.
I mean, listen, Mike. Listen, Mike just stamped me, baby. I'm good.
Look, I'm telling you, man. I'm a Cedric Tillman man. I was driving that train last season, and I got him on Dynasty. He's on my Scott Fishbowl team this year.
Yeah,
I love Cedric Tillman. I think from the talent standpoint, I'd love to see him with in an offense where he, had a quarterback that you could trust and stuff, because I have no doubt that given the opportunity, he's got wide receiver one upside.
Yeah.
Like his ability on the football field, he just reminds me of like an NFL caliber elite wide receiver. Yeah. I love the way he plays football.
Yeah. No, and I'm pretty sure, man, last year he also, I think there was 3 weeks that he had, man, where he finished it was like a top 7 guy, I'm pretty positive, last year, man. Actually, yeah, and whenever he was out there, I think it was from week 7 to week 9.
He had a nice little run.
Yeah, he had a nice run, man. He had a nice run. 21% target share, fourth amongst wide receivers in expected points per game. And the other thing too, man, is ironically enough, I know you talked about the quarterback situation for sure, and that's obviously a huge question mark. Last year it was not that great either. And it's crazy enough, like I couldn't believe that the Browns were I think actually they ran the most plays in the NFL, and I think they had like the most passing attempts as well, which makes sense because they stink. So like obviously the opportunities would be there. It's just a matter of like, hey, to your point, man, the quarterback play, like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be average? Is it going to be worse than bad? It's really the piece. And then like you said, man, like the health concerns, the concussions, like that's obviously nothing to mess around with on that side of things for him for sure. So yeah, man, that's like I said, that's my guy, man. I can't help it. Me and Mike is on the same page cooking in here. I told y'all we was gonna be cooking today, man. Yeah. All right, man. So let's go like to the beginning of the draft. A player in the top 24 that you feel like can finish number 1 overall. And I know that's a pretty wide. I know it's a pretty wide range of outcomes, right? Like there's a lot of players there. Yeah, but I want to hear what Mike's got to say.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to go – I'll give you 2 guys. Obviously, I think there's like a dead set type of top 6 kind of guys. So I'm not going to kind of use them because obviously there's a number of guys can finish number 1. But I'm going to go back. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey. Here's the thing. A lot of people, and here's the thing about CMC is so many people I feel like jumped off. But now the last month, 2 months, it feels like that CMC. I thought CMC is going to be like a steal this year, but really at this point he's up to like number 7 of that. He's back because everyone is believing in all the hype. So I feel like it's not even. I felt like I was onto something being a big believer. I did a dynasty draft 2 months ago, with a bunch of creators. And I got CMC at 52. I couldn't believe it. And I know it's Dynasty and he's only 20. I couldn't believe that these people were letting me get him. But so I've been on the belief. I've been an early believer on him returning. Obviously, there's risk here. But what the hell? This guy, when he is healthy, is unbelievable. So he's a guy that I'm going to say could finish top. He could finish number 1. Now, if it isn't CMC, let's take him out because he is number 7 in ADP at this point. It's kind of like whatever. I'm going to throw out a Miami Dolphin. I'm going to throw out a Devon Achane.
Here we go.
And so, because I think there are a number of players in like 10 to 20. I don't see any world where they could be number 1. But I think when you look at Achane, there is a world where he could finish number 1 overall. Like we've seen him be number 1 finish. Like we've seen the stuff. It's just, can we see it for 16, 17 weeks? If we get 17 weeks of healthy Tua, there's a legitimate chance that Achane is the number 1 player overall. Whether or not the Dolphins are doing well or not is another story. But Achane himself has that. And right now he's number 12 ADP. So I think Achane would be the other guy.
Dig that.
Well, my guy, but I'm happy about
I was about to say,
very,
you just
very
made,
happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you batting 1,000 out here tonight, man. Like you batting 1,000 out here so far tonight, man. Nick last year, he helped me turn the corner on Achane for sure because he wasn't somebody that I was in on like that. And as we got a little bit later on in the draft season, I got convinced about Devon Achane, and I do believe, like you said, man, I think a lot of that is just if Tua stays upright. If Tua stays upright, then yes, absolutely, he will be unlocked for sure. So for me, I went off the reservation a little bit as far as a player. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I went off the reservation for sure, man. My guy is Nico Collins.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things for me, man, that I definitely love about Nico. I love about the situation that he's got this year. I think obviously with the Joe Mixon news and potential lack of running game, that means there's probably going to be a lot of passing that's going to go on. And last year, he had the 6th most yards, and he missed 5 games last year. He was 23rd. Actually, yeah, he was 4th in the league last year receiving yards per game, 23rd in Yak. And again, this is all missing 5 games. The Texans were top 10 in passing last season. And then one of the other things that really jumped out at me as well is that obviously, man, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jacksonville was one of the worst teams. Actually, they were the worst team in the NFL when it came to the pass. And Indy also was one of the best teams, the worst teams in the league against the pass last season as well. So, you have 4 games there against 2 subpar, very bad defenses. And then also, too, man, you have the Tennessee Titans there as well. I know the Tennessee Titans were pretty good last year against the pass. But I really like Nico Collins. I think if he's able to string together 17 games this year, I think he could be a dark horse to be able to bring home a number 1 overall fantasy player season type. And like to your point, man, like there's definitely a handful of guys there at the front of the line that is pretty easy to kind of handpick. CD Lamb was a guy that I wanted to take and say, like, hey, like I could see him getting back there. I could see him getting back there.
I think we're all in the same thing, same bubble right now.
I could see CD Lamb like getting back there for sure. But I wanted to be a little bit different tonight, and I wanted to go Nico Collins. So, what's your thoughts on Nico, Mike?
Yeah, big Nico guy. Look, I thought Nico was awesome when he was at Michigan. And I've been a big Nico guy before he kind of broke. Yeah, that's where I feel like I'm always kind of seeing these guys before they come out to some degree. And so I was big on Nico for a while. And I love, that Houston organization. I was huge on Tank Dell. Sad to see what's happened to him with the injuries. But, yeah, Nico's in a great position. He has that connection with C.J. Stroud. They're good. They changed in offensive coordinators. I like the rookies that they brought in. I'm a big Jaden Higgins guy. Yeah. We could see Jalen Noel. We'll have to see what happens with all that. I mean, they got Christian Kirk, but Nico is he's a beast. Yes. He's going to do his thing. Now, I don't think that Nico could be wide receiver 1 overall because I think Nico doesn't catch as many balls, so he's not going to get all those extra points like PPR wise. Like he's more of like the big play type of receiver. Like he's going to get you wide receiver 1 numbers. I just have a hard time imagining him as wide receiver 1, especially when you think about the way the NFL is now. Jamar Chase, you got CD, like they're catching more balls and making the big plays. But Nico's a dog. He's awesome. So I like the idea of having Nico on your team, and if you have him as your wide receiver 1, you got a good shot. I just don't think he could be wide receiver 1 overall because of those young guys too. Because I think Jaden Higgins is going to be a weapon. I think that Christian Kirk's going to catch enough balls where it's like, when you look at Dallas, they got George Pickens now. But after George Pickens, who else they throwing the ball to? I mean, they could throw the ball to Ferguson, I guess. But, CD's got such opportunity. When you look at Cincinnati, they're throwing the ball to Chase and Higgins. And then who else they throwing it to? Nobody. So I think that Nico is a stud. But I don't think wide receiver 1, like number 1 player.
Dig that. Nick? Oh, well, yeah, you already said you got 8-10.
Yeah, definitely was my guy for sure. What I was going to say was I kind of wanted to put someone else out there because it just
don't say Jamar Chase.
Oh man.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a consensus number 1 right now. I always hate that type of stuff. No, I was gonna bring up Puka Nacua because he was a guy that I knew I was gonna talk about Achane, but you already talked about him. I was gonna talk about CeeDee Lamb, but John already mentioned him. So Puka Nacua, the outside of Gibbs, because everyone's talking about Gibbs as well. I want to talk about Puka Nacua because obviously I think Puka Nacua has an opportunity to do something just like that. I think the concern obviously people will have is Adams being there. And then, now people are talking about Stafford not being ready for week 1, stuff like that. But I do think Puka Nacua has every opportunity now to potentially be that overall wide receiver 1.
So I'm just going to throw in a concern for Puka that's not the concern of Devontae Adams, because I think he can handle Devontae being on the team with him the way they spread the ball.
It's the injuries.
Yeah, and it's more about the injuries because Puka, he's such a badass with the ball, right? He's running players over. He's so tough that is like he almost puts himself into a more injury-prone position by being such a badass, by getting every yard after the catch. Not saying he's going to get injured. It worries me a little bit with him. He's so talented. He's so awesome to watch, but it concerns me over 16, 17 games. Is he not going to get that injury? So that's the only concern there. But otherwise, if he can stay healthy, of course, he's got wide receiver 1, top 1, player overall because he's so good. He really is. He's like unstoppable.
And I can envision him taking like where Cooper Kupp left off. And good Lord, Triple Crown potentially written all over that too if he stays healthy. So yeah, but I like you were saying, his play style to me, like I saw Puka Nacua before everyone saw it. In terms of Puka Nacua, if you want to look back, I had Puka Nacua 80% in my best ball that year. The year he went out. So it was something that not everybody saw. But now it's like everybody's drafting Puka Nacua. That's how I kind of feel about Brian Thomas. Everybody's starting to grab them at the 1-2 turns and stuff like that. I'm like, man, I want the next, cheaper receiver late, versus grabbing these guys in the first or top of the second round. So, but no, I wanted to bring him up because I know Puka Nacua has that outlier of him in there, but it's also like the injury risk and then Adams coming in, stuff like that. So, next question that we had for you was an RB that you're targeting that doesn't get enough love right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go quick here. 3, just in case we're running up against time. Let's start with the guy in Kansas City. No one's talking about Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know why. Look, I know last year was a down year. He got hurt. We saw it 2 years ago. I think he's going to be healthy this season. And no one's really even considering the potential that he has if he does stay healthy and he's in that offense. They've got a better offensive line. RB1, in my opinion, in Kansas City. I love the option there. And you're getting him at 71 ADP. That's incredible to me. That's not, that makes no sense to me. So I like Pacheco. Now I'm going to go somewhere in the hundreds. If you don't want to go Pacheco, you're going a little later. You're looking for a running back. I love this guy when he was in San Francisco last year. He was elite. I thought he would get I couldn't believe that he was traded. I get it. But now you look to Minnesota and you go Jordan Mason. This guy's a ball. I mean, this guy's awesome. And he's 107 overall. These are the guys that win you leagues, right? You could stack your squads, and now you got a chance at Jordan Mason at 107. So I'll just leave it at those 2 guys. Those are 2 running backs that are later in drafts. It doesn't cost a lot of capital. those are guys that I'm taking way above other guys that are earlier on that have more risk or you're spending too much draft capital. And that's the two guys that I would say that I'm targeting at running back that are not getting enough love.
Jordan Mason, shout out Antioch, baby. I'm here for it. Antioch, Tennessee. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I don't even gotta say nothing, man. I don't even gotta say nothing. I'm loving this. Like I'm loving everything about tonight, man. This is great. This is great.
How can you not love Jordan Mason? I mean, when he played, he balled out. I'm not really sure what we missed. He's now in a great he's in a great offense. He has the opportunity to really do more. I don't understand what people are missing. I mean, he's the type of guy that I want to be drafting across drafts, every type of league, any style. It's just those are the players where we could be looking at next season. You could be saying Jordan Mason could be a round 1 or 2 pick if the things play out. That he has that potential. I want those guys the year early because that's when you start to win.
Yes, and Kevin O'Connell can fix anything offensively. He can fix anything offensively. And I'm here for all the Kevin O'Connell. I'm here for all the Minnesota Vikings talk. I'm here for it all. But no, he's absolutely a guy, man. I can't remember all of all the stats with him, but I'm pretty sure whenever he was playing before he had gotten injured or whatnot, like he was in the upper echelon of yards per game. I think the only thing that was really kind of hurting him might have been the touchdowns and maybe in the passing game. But again, like in an offense, like you said, like with Minnesota and with obviously them starting a rookie quarterback this year with JJ, you got to think they're going to have to run the ball a little bit more. And oh, by the way, he's backing up literally the oldest running back in the NFL in Aaron Jones. Like could not be more of a picture perfect situation for a guy, man, for sure.
That's right.
Nick, what you got, man?
Yeah, I got 2 as well. There's one guy that I think that he's gonna vary depending on the room, in terms of where you get him. The first guy I want to talk about is DeAndre Swift. Right now being picked around pick 54. I've seen him go way later than that. So that's where, from a consensus ADP, he's 54 overall, but I've seen him go 70, 75. I believe in a few things when it comes to Swift. One, Swift's already done this before. He's already had an RB1 season under his belt as an RB before. And from that standpoint, that's what I like to go with. A couple other things here. Offensive line for Chicago getting rebuilt under Ben Johnson, that whole offense getting revamped. They finally have someone that actually knows how to run an offense. Chicago has historically just not been a great place to be targeting a lot of players. I think that changes with Swift this year. I think when it comes to Swift, you got to think about a few things. One is that can he be, bell cow material? I think that's in the realm of possibilities. Even if he's not, a great lion's share in an offense that's getting rebuilt. That again, an offense that was literally, and I don't really think it's because offensive line per se, even though they allowed the most sacks last year, it was really more about Caleb Williams processing. So hope for the processing he gets a lot better at in terms of, now all the weapons coming in for Chicago. But speaking of Swift, continuing on Swift, I should say, he overall is an RB that I think is going to benefit from a great offensive line upgrade. He's a receiving back as well. I just think that if we're banking on all these other pieces of Chicago being well, I think I think DeAndre Swift is going to be a guy that really benefits from that. In terms of where you're getting him, because right around where DeAndre Swift goes, even from a consensus point of view, he's one of the last few running backs that I feel pretty okay with when it comes to a workload perspective. Because he goes into a range of we just talked about him, Aaron Jones, but RG Harvey's there, Trevion Henderson there. I'd probably still take some stabs around that area. Caleb Johnson, obviously, we love him. Tony Pollard, Pacheco, you just talked about. So they're still in the back half of range. If you go receiver heavy early, I think Swift could still be a guy that you get him and you get somebody else in that range for running back, and you have a solid core to go with your first 5, 6, 7 rounds. But I do think Swift is a guy that I just don't think is getting enough love. And I do think he could be someone that we look back, it's like, why were we not more on Swift?
Dig that. All right, well, I'll fire it up then, man. Last one here for you as far as, just questions about players in drafts.
Sorry,
What you got?
I said I had 2, right?
Well, you were taking
Sorry,
me right
I had 2, right?
I was locked in.
Sorry, I had
like,
2,
what
right?
Are you doing, man? Go ahead, rip it, man, rip it.
Jaden Blue is the next guy because I do think the Dallas situation offers opportunity for him to really be a standout running back. Like looking at the Texas tape and looking at what type of running back Jaden Blue is, like he's a great running, he's a great receiving back. Like I think he lands at a great opportunity in Dallas where you have Javonte Williams, which some people like, some people don't like. Not sure exactly what to expect now because last year in Denver we thought it was going to be it, right? There was a good amount of people that thought it was going to be Javonte Williams' time in Denver. Never happened. He was splitting committee by 3 or 4 different backs at one point last year. Now he lands in Dallas. So I don't know what to expect from Javonte Williams, but what I think Jaden Blue could really bring to the table, though. I saw the guy in news. I don't think so. I think he'll be ready for week 1. So I think that offensive line is something definitely to talk about with the Cowboys. But even so, Dallas is going to be throwing the football anyway. They're going to be in an offense where they're going to be constantly throwing the football anyway. They're going to be, defense is solid, but not something that's going to, there's going to be bleeding points at defense. So from a game script perspective, I do think Jaden Blue can easily be a third down back and then could potentially, as the season ramps up, be the guy in Dallas. And you're getting him literally, you're getting him around, the 11th round right now from a consensus point of view. So I just love that when you're getting a running back that late, like similar to Tank Bigsby. It's like I like grabbing those guys as either a depth piece or a guy I think that could easily break into the flex territory down the stretch for the season. Any thoughts, Rip?
Yeah, you got to monitor what we saw today with Tyler Guyton going down. That could be a huge loss for the offensive line for the Cowboys. That's
say 4 to 6 weeks, so that still puts them close to being ready for week 1.
As long as that's the case, that's good. Blue is a guy that I was really high on. I've tempered it a little bit just because some of the stuff I read was talking about how he's not very focused, he's not really paying attention enough. But I do like the idea of Blue. He's one of those rookie running backs that are late. There's a number of them that I do like. He's got the opportunity to shine. So he's a guy that's worth a shot. You can't really, there's nothing to lose. He's a guy to watch. I definitely can see it.
Coolio. So yeah, I mean, look, so next guys we're talking about. A player you think the market is absolutely wrong about from an ADP perspective.
Mike, if you take my guy, I don't even know what I'm doing.
I don't think anyone's taking my guy, so I
don't even know what I'm doing, man. I
one.
love what you've been cooking tonight, man. I love what you've been cooking.
I mean,
fair warning.
I have no idea who your guys are, to be honest. But
I love it.
The thing is, there could be a lot of guys that the market's wrong about a lot of guys. To me, when I look at the market right now, and I just did a quick. I haven't looked at it in a while, to be honest. I don't do this every day because it helps me stay out of it. I think you can actually over research. I think you genuinely can do too much that hurts yourself. Yeah. But I think that Kyren Williams at number 22 is too high. And the irony here is that I love Kyren Williams as a player. I think he's good. 2 years ago, people started to follow me at some levels because I was early on the Kyren Williams thing. Because I remember Kyren at Notre Dame, and I remembered realizing he could play, and I was big on getting Kyren. He sort of popped at the same time as Puka. I thought that Kyren was the guy that everyone could pick up to win their leagues. This was week 1. I was drafting him in the season, and so a lot of people were like, "Man, how the hell did you know that?" Got a little lucky, obviously, but now I think it's gone too far, and I think that Kyren is overvalued. And I'll tell you, I think the drafting of a running back last year, everyone was, people were thinking about Blake Corum. That didn't really do it for me. I wasn't a big Blake Corum guy. I didn't see it, but I think Jarquez Hunter is a real type of player. I'm actually a big Jarquez Hunter fan. I think if you just see there's some video out there of the Rams on draft day and the way they wanted Jarquez Hunter. I think if you think about Jarquez Hunter, he's a legit player that's going to have an impact on that Rams team. And I think to have to spend a top 2 round pick on Kyren, there's just too much risk there for me this year. So I think his value is just way too high because I think the opportunity that he hits all those check marks and stays healthy, because he has been injured in the past, is just too much for me. And that's why I think the market is wrong that he's at 22. And so he's not going to be a guy that I draft in the first 2 rounds this season.
Dig that. No, I was scared of him last year. And I didn't get any of him last year at all, but like I was scared of him just from like the injury side of thing, because he's not a big guy, man. Like he's not a big guy, and like
it's 200 pounds.
Yeah, it's like it's all volume there for him for sure, man. So no, I'm with you on that. All right, you want to go, Nick, or you want me to rip it, man?
Rip it up, my guy. What you got?
What you got? You see what I did there? Oh, okay.
I know exactly what you did. That's why I went with it.
All right. Okay. All right. So what if I told you this wide receiver over the last 2 years that I'm talking about would get you 79 catches, 917 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 67% catch rate? And he was going at 8'3", wide receiver 41. Would you guys be all in on that? Yes.
Depends on the prototype.
Yes. I'm talking about there's no prototype. This is it. It's Jacoby Myers, man. Jacoby Myers, one of the cheaper guys you can get out there later on in drafts to be your wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. Getting better quarterback play than he's had the last 2 years with Las Vegas / Oakland. 8 times he finished in the top 30, 4 times in the top 20. And he was 20th among wide receivers in total points per game. So for me, Jacoby Myers, I think the market is wrong on him. I think he should be bumped up. I don't think he should be wide receiver 41. I think he should probably be somewhere in the the high 20s, 28, 29, somewhere in that area. So Jacoby Myers is a guy for me that, it feels kind of dirty and kind of nasty a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, he's been putting up production. So Jacoby Myers is the guy for me that I think the market's got it wrong, and I hope they don't correct it. I hope they continue to get it wrong, and I will be there to take him at every opportunity that I could get, man. So that's my guy.
Okay.
As a Raiders looker, do you any thoughts on Kobe?
I love that. Yeah, I think Jacoby's a guy that is completely undervalued right now for sure. He's got the opportunity. You mentioned it. Geno's there. He's a competent quarterback. Hasn't had that in LA. He didn't have that in Vegas, and he still produced. He produced when he was in New England. I don't know why they let him get out of the building. That made no sense. This guy's a player. He's good. So I love it. I think what you said makes total sense to me.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Nick.
All right. Well, planting my flag now, because this player is someone that goes all over the board in people's minds, literally. I've said his name on this podcast before. I'm going to say it again. It's Jayden Reed. And Jayden Reed, for me, is someone that I think the market is just still too low on. A couple of things to put in perspective, right? So with Jayden Reed, yards per route run last year was 2.2. So obviously, short and intermediate type of route receiver, right? 73% success rate against man coverage, 82% versus zone coverage. That was the best for design targets among receivers. He was a 2.63 fantasy points per target. Going to be entering a 3rd year. So that's also something we look at for potential breakouts. He was number 1 in rush yards among receivers last year. So again, those things work in favor. The big crime, the people that consistently put this here for Jayden Reed and why he can't be a breakout or whatever. And it was literally because he finished outside the top 60 receivers in route run percentage. So it was like 71, 72%. We want 90% from these type of receivers, especially getting a ton of volume. let's put some other things in perspective. The Packers last year, right? First season of LaFleur's, finishing outside the top 25 in pass attempts. And it was the second time outside the top 18. However, LaFleur has never finished outside the top 15 in points scored. There's one. Another point was that the Packers, as we've said before, and as we said down the stretch of the fantasy football season, the Packers were way too run heavy second half of the year. So clearly some positive regression happening for this Packers offensive temp. Love, we obviously know he was dealing with injuries pretty much throughout the season in terms of, and that affected somewhat of the Packers' plans in general. The Packers finished the season third lowest in pass plays and third in pass attempts. So there was a lot of things working against this passing attack in general. However, this is per Ryan Keefe on X. He does great work for Fantasy Points. Before Love's groin injury, he was the QB4 in pass attempts. And he was QB2 in deep throw rate. And guess what Jaden Reed averaged points per game? 18.3 fantasy points per game. So, to put everything in perspective, I do think that Jaden Reed is a value in terms of where you're getting him. You're getting him, 92nd, very late 80-ish sometimes. Best ball, he's starting to rise up a little bit because of the type of player he can be from a week in, week out basis. But I will say that Jaden Reed is a guy that, look, he's someone that you got to prioritize when drafting. If you're talking about Jaden Reed being my wide receiver 4, essentially my wide receiver 5, yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that to the bank. I just think the Packers offense is not going to be what it was this past season, so run heavy because of Jordan Love's injuries and stuff like that.
Dig that. I'll let you know how I feel about that. It is what it is with Jaden Reed for me. But it could be a thing. John's
just a hater.
I'm not a hater. I just it don't do it. It just don't do it for me, man. It just don't do it for me, man. Don't do it.
You guys got to disagree for this show to pop off.
It don't, like he didn't do it for me last year. I was like, when he said deep throw, the first thing that popped in my mind was Christian Watson, and I was like, okay. All right. That was the first thing that popped in my mind.
That was your guy.
Him and Jordan Love both. They both were my guys. I drafted Jordan Love and I drafted Christian Watson like I did. They both were my guys, man. One thing I do, this is mildly off topic, but I just got to put it out there now because I know we are getting up against it. And you said we got to disagree to make this show work, Rip. I got called everything but a child of God last week. I got called disrespectful. I got called out of pocket. I got called wrong. I got called it all last week when I was like, it's a hard pass for me on Joe Mixon. Oh, you being disrespectful taking David Montgomery over, or you being disrespectful? And then, my man's just like, oh, Alvin Kamara. Like, no, I'm Joe Mixon. And I know we're still way stupid early.
Where's Derek at? Where's Derek at? He better be
way stupid early in the grand scheme of things. But before we have to dismantle here today. Where were you at with Joe Mixon before the foot injury came public to everyone? Where were you at with him?
No, I've been out on Joe. He had the injury last season. He had a great season, overall in Houston, but just not look, here's the thing for me, and this is a personal thing. Maybe it's what I just have a philosophy. There's some guys where it's not that I don't like them. It's not that I don't think they're good football players. There's just certain guys, and I don't know how to necessarily describe it per se. They're just guys that I just don't draft. They're like
feelings.
They're just off my draft list just because I don't have a good read on it. Like, I just don't feel comfortable having them, so I just will not take them. Doesn't mean I don't think they can be good. There's always going to be guys that I can be good that I don't. And Joe Mixon fit that category, and he does it again. And he did it again coming into the season. To be quite honest, they brought in Chubb. Who knows what was going to happen there? But I'm a big Woody Marks guy at some level, and so I just wasn't in on the Joe Mixon thing this year either, just because of the potential for injury. And, I hope he comes back healthy, and I hope that this is just a preseason thing. But I won't be drafting him, and it's not because of what happened recently. He's one of those guys that's not on my list. He's just not on my board.
Dig that.
I'd go elsewhere.
That's fair.
Because it's like, it's, for example, it's the type of thing where it's like, I'd rather go and get a wide receiver at the same area that Joe Mixon's being drafted, and then later I'm picking up Jordan Mason. And then, I do stuff like that. So when when there's certain guys I just don't have the right read on, I just pass them by, let other people take them, and I key on my guys. Like, I don't sit there and go, I need this guy. He's at the ADP. He's dropped 3 spots. I'm getting him. No, I'm always getting my guys. And so he's just one of those guys, not my guy. There's nothing wrong with it, and I hope he's healthy.
Funny because I took my kids today to see the Fantastic Four, and just a quote, "Die with yours, die with yours," and that's all I'm thinking about fantasy football. Just I'm sitting there thinking, "Die with yours." Like, just take your guys. Like, if it hits, it hits, and if it don't, all right, man, we'll see you back next year, man, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. I know we got some Scott Fishbowl stuff potentially. Nick, I know you were wanting to go over. I think Rip, you got to get ready to cut it loose here.
I gotta dip out here in a few minutes.
Yeah, man. Listen, man, appreciate you definitely taking the time, man, to hop on with us for sure. If you're not following this, man, do yourself a favor. Stop everything.
What are you waiting for?
Follow him. Yeah, follow him.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, like what are you doing?
Gold here.
Yeah, like stop.
Jeez.
How you living your life not following me? Come on.
Yeah.
Right?
Anything dope you got going on before you get out of here, man? Anything we can look forward to?
Look, I mean, the reality is in the last couple of years, I had a lot of segments. I had some shows. Man, there's so many things. The morning after, Mondays. I haven't figured it out what it's going to be like in 2025. I've got a lot of different offers out there, a lot of different conversations, and trying to figure out how I can still remain, a factor here digitally. I've got a lot going on in day to day, and it's great. But I love this stuff, so I'll be around. Be happy to tap back in with you guys down the road. It's always fun to come on other people's show, honestly. I know how much work goes into it, the effort, the energy, so I respect it greatly, and I wish you guys the best. None of this stuff has been out there yet, so a lot of people that are either going to hear this and follow me are going to be getting some of the good stuff for the first time. So this is a lot of fun for me to be joining you guys, and even hearing what you guys think helps me too. So I appreciate you both. I'm going to drop one thing and get out of here. And this is not even fantasy. I haven't talked about this, but last year, and this is just real football. Last year, coming into the season, I was very big on the people might know one of the big things I love is futures across sports. And I think that's where I make my money, quite honestly, and make my name. I was big last year on the Denver Broncos win total. People laughed at me. Oh, how could the Denver
People
Broncos?
laughed at me too.
It was over 5.5. I said, this is a no-brainer, guys. I told the reasons. Anyways, I'm back. I was cooking for a while. That's why you haven't seen me. I was just stirring the pot, figuring it out. And I figured it out for this year, and I haven't released it. I'll be posting this later on Twitter, on X, and when I say later, probably in the next month, who knows when. I've already put my stuff out there, but I'm going to share it with you guys and anyone following. I think that, my bold take and one of my futures that I think is huge this year is the over for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that the Raiders are being completely undervalued. They have a great organization now. It started with the Tom Brady thing, and you usually laugh about the Raiders, but they brought in Pete Carroll. And I just want to pull up some stats here because I think it's really important. The Las Vegas Raiders over season total right now is 7 wins. They play 17 games. If they win 7 games this season, you get your money back. If they win more than 7, you win money. Pete Carroll's been a coach in the NFL for 18 seasons. For 17 of those seasons, he's won 7 games or more. The only time he didn't win 7 or more games was the first season he was ever an NFL coach. If you don't trust that can happen, I don't know what to tell you. But not only has he won 7 games or more 14 times, he's also had 16 games those other seasons where he didn't. So my point is like this. When you think about having a bet that could be a lot of fun, just go to your local bookie, go to Vegas, bet the win total. You got Brock Bowers. They drafted Ashton Genty. How much fun is it going to be? Chip Kelly running that offense. You got a competent quarterback in Geno Smith. By the way, Geno Smith as a starting quarterback with more than 16 games started. You know, in Seattle, he won his last 3 seasons, 9 wins, 8 wins, and 10. That's more than 7. And when he was the starter in New York, he won 8 games when he had over a full season played. So the point is, all the stats are there. Plus, you get a fun team. They're going to have fun young players. It seems like, to me, the one place in the NFL where it is hard to win money. But if you go and bet the over on the season win totals of the Vegas Raiders, I think you're going to win money. We'll talk about this down the road, but I have a lot of confidence in my research, and this is one that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to share this out with the public down the road here, but I'll share it with you guys now. This has been a blast, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, man.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Rip, been a pleasure, my guy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Be good.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you feel that, don't you?
All right. So, listen, I mean, nothing like hearing, like someone else is kind of like hammering home like a lot. Yeah, that's it. That's why, what else am I gonna say? Like, there's no reason for me to go on about things. Like, hey, man, I'm just gonna sit back here in the cut. You know what I mean?
That's
yeah, man. Yeah. What do you got with these Scott Fishbowl rosters, man? Let's take a stab at a couple of these right here. You got.
Yes, sir. Give me one moment. Let me pull it up for you.
Yeah, we're still drafting. We literally are at 19-6 right now.
What? You guys are still drafting?
Yeah, man.
Lord.
Sick.
That's terrible.
Yep. It's been
awful.
It's been
sick. He said it's been one.
It has been one for sure.
Yikes. But yeah, we got a few Scott Fishbowl rosters to go over. Some people have been here waiting patiently and stuff like that, and appreciate that. Our guy Rip though, yeah, spitting some knowledge for everybody up in here. There we go. Okay. So we got Tip Major. Our guy Tip Major. Up in here with his Scott Fishbowl draft. So for all that don't know about Scott Fishbowl, this has been a crazy roster construction-ish type of monsterish setting where we're able to start 9 flex spots. So it doesn't matter if it's running back, receiver, or tight end. And then it's 2 super flex starts. So in terms of 2 QBs, super flex, settings. You also get points for if you get Travis Hunter, you get defensive points. So IDP-ish, type of points from Travis Hunter if you drafted him. Did I forget anything?
No, you got the basically positionless football. You got the Travis Hunter rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
I think it's running backs get an extra.
Yeah, running backs get an extra half a point. Tight ends are like super tight end premium. They get
super tight end premium.
Yeah, they get 2.5 points. You get points for first downs, points for carries. And even in the Travis Hunter rule, it could be, if your quarterback throws an interception and a wide receiver gets a tackle, you get credit for that tackle. The mantra was pretty much this year was volume is king, and anything that happens on a football field, you should be getting credit for, which I think is actually pretty dope.
Really?
So I mean, looking at Tip's team right here, obviously I know he's a big Bijan guy, or Bijan, excuse me, big Bijan guy.
Yes,
yeah, big Bijan guy.
Wait to tell you that.
Yeah, that's a big Bijan guy.
Bijan, it's Bijan.
Yeah. And then BTJ, it's kind of hard to argue with that. And AJ Brown, same thing. JSN, not bad at all. It's the first 4 picks, kind of just getting away from running back, doing something different for me. And all those guys are all pretty good value for sure. BTJ, wide receiver 8, AJ Brown, wide receiver 13, JSN, wide receiver 14. I like that. Tony Pollard, I running back 25. I mean, I guess you could do I can't
do much worse.
Yeah, I'm not gonna slam it, for sure. I think Kyler's pretty good value there at quarterback 10 in the 6th round, and then
he got him.
Yeah.
Wow, he varies on room 2. Shoot.
Yeah, no, like that's the other thing too, is like there's definitely a lot of players on this board here that like I
didn't get him.
I mean I picked 101, and like there's definitely guys that I'm like looking at names, I'm like, oh yeah, I got that guy, but like I got him like mad later. George Pickens, wide receiver 30. I think he's another guy that like as long as he just like doesn't self implode, like he puts me in the mindset of like and I'm not saying he's Randy Moss, but it just reminds me of like when Randy Moss like went to New England, and you actually get to see like the untapped potential that actually truly is there. So I think that's a great pick. His wide receiver room is nasty. And then Jake Ferguson with the super tight end premium. Now, see, I got Ferguson at like tight end 16 in my draft. So to see him there, like, so I think I got him at like 12. So to see Ferguson at 9-12, that's kind of wild. And then Braylon Allen, Mondre, yeah. No, I just like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, being a Jets guy, I mean, look, I can vision Braylon Allen having this goal line role.
That's literally what I was gonna say. Is like that's the only like that's the one thing like with him is you can be like, all right, well, yeah, like he could definitely like do some work. Like, but then the other problem, like not the other problem, but the other thing too, man, is like, like in these type of settings, man, now you put yourself in a situation where like now you have to make that decision every week. Do you play this guy? Do you play this guy every week? And like maybe this is the week he falls in the end zone 3 times for 3 touchdowns and has 50 yards, right? And 2 or 3 first down and gets you 25 points, or you play him and he gets you 0.3. Like that just puts that's just a really tough situation to be in. And then you have Ramondre, who like I would have drafted Ramondre ahead of Braylon Allen, honestly. But hey, I mean, like this is a format where you go get your guy. That's the dope part about it, is like if you truly believe in players, I think this is the format where you just go get them. And then when you look at the second half of his board, there's a lot of names that I really do love over here on the second side. Emeka, like it just it's like you can see it starting to formulate it. Yeah, you can see it's getting ready to happen for sure. And then Wandell, like he was a PPR monster last year, and I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in New York at the quarterback position. Then one of my guys, man, Ray Davis. I love that pick right there, running back 49. Yeah, that's a great pick right there. And Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 65, starting wide receiver. I know DeAndre Hopkins is in town with the Baltimore Ravens, but Rashad Bateman just got paid. So if they just paid the man, they ain't paying him to have him sit on the sidelines and just hang out. So I think that's a really good value there. Talked about CJ Stroud a little bit. It like kind of, just grazed over his name. But the Texans, it looks like the Texans are, I mean, we did. Like, I think the Texans, like, they're like, if this running game, like, if it's non-existent, like it's looking like it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of CJ Stroud. And even with like even with the season that he had, it wasn't, again, like it was one of those situations where, I'll continue to die on this hill. Wasn't terrible. It was just, again, he was overdrafted. 11th in attempts last year, 15th in yards with CJ Stroud. I think he had like an 80-something QBR rating last year. So we know that wasn't his best work. And we see a lot of quarterbacks in their second year kind of take a step back. You got Pop Douglas, Rashard Smith. We'll see what happens with Kansas City. That's a name that's had a lot of buzz out there this year. And then Jalen Noel, again, another young guy in a potential offense. It might have to throw the ball around the yard quite a bit. And then Jordan Whittington, he had a couple really good games last year with the Rams. I think obviously when you get to this point here, again, kind of hard to, turn your nose up at anything. And the Tesla and wide receiver 94, Ike Tesla.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, there's a spot there. There's a spot there for him. And obviously you're potentially getting a piece of, a very high potent offense in the Detroit Lions. And then you can't leave a draft without Jameis Winston. You know what I mean? Like, you can't leave a draft without him because who knows, man? Is this what he needs? Is a wide receiver like Malik Neighbors to, you know, for him to come in and just chuck and duck? So, Tip, man, that's not like, I mean, there's really only honestly probably about 2-ish picks that I'm like, about, but this ain't bad work, homie. I like this right here.
Nah, I think it's really solid. I think,
Yeah,
like you talked about earlier, receivers that he grabs early. That's the thing about like this format, because it's like, you know, everyone wants to fall in love with the running backs, but it's like you get a great group of receivers early. You know what I'm saying? You could also just be able to pick up what you want later too, as well, depending on what you want. But I think the biggest, I mean, in my roster, I got Kyler at 5'4", so for him getting Kyler at 6'1" is definitely a value. The George Pickens to go along with the other 3 receivers that went ahead.
that's dirty work right there.
That's along with a Mecca later at pick 12, 1. Look, that looks like a monstrous steal at the moment. I guess the thing that will I would say probably make or break his roster is the Tony Pollard pick, literally. I think if Tony Pollard can be any resemblance of being this top 20, top 18 RB back, I really think that if he could bring up some ceiling of Tennessee's offense is better than what we are projecting at the moment, I do think that this roster could really have a great, come up because of Emeka being drafted out late along with Wandell. And then if Bateman has anything like, because we like Lamar, if the Ravens have anything to say about, Bateman and stuff like that, the receivers are loaded on this roster, so you can just slide them into the flex every time. So it remains to be seen. Who knows? Do you think this roster has the gusto to take the whole thing down? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I mean, I've seen. Again, this is not a bad roster, so I am definitely not trying to throw no shade at all. No. Like I've seen some rosters that definitely rival better. I mean, I get his strategy here. Like, with this, it is almost a hero approach almost. So I think because you gotta almost you gotta get it all right, man. And I think that Braylon Allen pick at 10-1, I would definitely love to know what else was out there when he made that pick there for sure. But again, man, it's not a bad team, bro. It is not a bad team. I think he could probably win his division with this team here today, July 28th at 9:25 p.m. Yeah, and I think so. His, could beat this to death, but his wide receivers are going to give him a chance every single week with that group that he's got. And then, obviously, if it doesn't shake out for him, he's got a pair of guys or 2 or 3 guys anyway that he should be able to slide into those spots if anything happens in Mecca, Wandell, and Bateman. So yeah, I'm all right with it, man. I don't mind this at all.
Sweet. Well, we got the other roster we gotta go over. And 44. So we got my guy Vincent.
Okay.
Vincent Mapstone. You know what I'm saying? He was in here earlier, but
I seen him.
I'm not sure if he's still here.
We don't need no stinking running backs.
We don't need no stinking running backs.
Man.
Good. We don't need them. And I think when it comes to this roster build, right? You love the quarterback starts because I was pretty teed that I couldn't get Jalen Hurts to come back to me. We drafted as 9s as well, but he had a totally different approach than what I did. So, Jalen Daniels, I was able to get Jalen Daniels, but I couldn't get Jalen Hurts to fall back to me, which I was, again, upset about. But you got the stack with A.J. Brown, right? Rashee Rice. Although the suspension is looming, I still think in this format, wide receiver 14 for Rashee Rice is solid. You know what I'm saying? But then you go grab Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 18. Like that's something where you think I've seen them flip. I've seen Garrett Wilson go earlier than Rashee Rice. And clearly that's going to be probably the case now until that looming suspension drops. But there's that. I think that both receivers after AJ Brown give this roster already a solid start when it comes to a volume perspective. Both Rashee Rice and Garrett Wilson still projected to be wide receiver ones for the team, along with after that DJ Moore for Chicago. So those four already are greatly in terms of volume. We expect Chicago's offense to turn around with Caleb, with Ben Johnson at the helm, and this offense adding more pieces than it did last year. DJ Moore is your fourth receiver, starts to get into a territory where it's like, all right, DJ Moore or Caleb Johnson right now, because it's like that's around the range where people were starting to still take running backs or whatever. But you grab DJ Moore, you go grab Courtland Sutton, your guy who just got paid in Denver, where Denver people are now expecting even more of a uptick in terms of the next step for this Denver team in general. Courtland Sutton seems to be the guy that can definitely lead the charge there at wide receiver 1. You're getting him as your wide receiver 5 in this build, along with solid quarterbacks. So really like the start of the first 7. The tail end are full of receivers that people like, people love, some people don't like, or in between, sometimes a little indifferent. So with Chris Olave, right? Chris Olave going as a wide receiver 34. Versus in years past, Chris Olave was going like 2-3 turn last year. And now we're getting Chris Olave outside the wide receiver 30, out at wide receiver 34. The only thing that everyone's concerned about is the concussion, but I still think grabbing Olave here makes a ton of sense, regardless of the format. Then you go grab Juwan Jennings, who Niners get the easiest schedule overall coming into the season based on last year's metrics. Brock Purdy gets the easiest, passing schedule amongst quarterbacks. So getting Juwan Jennings this late is crazy. The only thing, the calf injury and stuff like that, but I don't think that's going to be such a overall hindrance to what we expect from Juwan Jennings. So then, those are your first, 9 picks, and then Stephon Diggs and Pittman on the back end. Look, Pittman's going too late. We've said this before, and I've seen it. Pittman goes anywhere from wide receiver 44, where you got him, to wide receiver 52 or whatever. I understand the Colts situation is a mess. I understand Pittman's back injury is something, to be, monitoring. But I will also say that Pittman could, we're not too far removed from him playing around as a high-end wide receiver 2 on a weekly basis. Then obviously Stephon Diggs, who, again, good news about Stephon Diggs is that he's, wasn't even on the PUP list. So that's already a great sign. Ayuk was, he wasn't. So the difference obviously with that is, Stephon Diggs did his injury a little bit more earlier on than Ayuk did. So, Diggs' injury was more clean. Ayuk was a little bit more messier. So all the receivers going, this is a starting lineup projected, right? And then he goes and grabs my guy, Jaden Reed. Which for some people will be like, all right, well, he's wide receiver 51. It's like, good Lord. It's like the only way that does it, again, I talked about earlier on the season. Earlier on the segment. Jaden Reed, 18.3 fantasy points per game in the stretch that Jordan Love was killing it. So, and then you get Keon Coleman, who people are in love with. Some people aren't in love with. The Buffalo receiver situation right now is just a bit messy, so we don't know exactly what to expect. But telling me Keon Coleman finds himself being a breakout guy at round 13 in this thing. This could be something we got to keep our eyes peeled on in general. And Adam Thielen, reliable guy. Let's see how much legs does Adam Thielen have left in general, right? Carolina offense in general. Tech McMillan now in there. They also grabbed Hunter Renfrow and stuff like that, who's looked pretty decent when I've looked at some camp tape. But I do think that stealing that late, wide receiver 63, it's like you're not expecting him even to start in your roster. But it's something where this is where if you weren't able to grab running backs like you wanted to, or if you didn't have exactly the strategy to do so, whatever. We all know receivers, it's based on talent. It's all about getting on that field. So through the first 14 rounds, he's grabbing guys that are going to have real potential of being wide receiver ones for the teams overall. So I would say that's really smart, when it comes through like this type of process. Then the rest, right? Daniel Jones, your Roschon Johnsons, who is only running back for the time being. But, you guys still add and drop. You just can't trade in this format. But, yeah, Roschon Johnson is only running back. So you better hope. This is probably just like more like, all right, running. I'm assuming Vincent went this strategy because, receivers are going to be more on the field constantly. We won't get the outlier year last year where so many receivers got hurt last year and stuff like that. So, and then you grab Keelan Allen, who knows where he'll be. If he's going to be, if he's going to end up on the team or not. And then the rest of the guys, like I was talking about, the Noah Fant, who was in Seattle. Now we don't know where he's going. Could be in Miami. Who knows? And then Deontay Johnson, his last receiver, wide receiver 102. I mean, look, Deontay Johnson was a guy that, again, not too far removed from we were putting him in lineups and stuff like that too when he was in Carolina or stuff like that. And all of a sudden the whole debacle where he gets traded to Baltimore and then he doesn't want to play in Baltimore anymore. And then he finds himself
in cold. It was cold. It was 40 degrees. It was cold, man. What's wrong with you?
It was totally cold. It was totally cold.
Playing him and Anthony Richardson just need to real quick.
Definitely. So the quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, who knows between Anthony Richardson and him is going to start, whoever, that's already going to be on tilt for some people. So I grabbed Daniel Jones, all of a sudden they're starting Anthony Richardson. But Jalen Milroe, someone that has some real sneakiness going on with him. If the Darnold situation is not what Seattle is already being, because I could easily see Milroe getting a nice little package of plays, a little RPO action, stuff like that. I'm not going to say he's going to dethrone Darnold for the starting gig. But in the realm of possibility, he could be like, a guy that could get some late season flavor. You never know. Depending on how Seattle goes, because Seattle range of outcomes for how their season can go could range from, hey, they're a decent team entering to the postseason. The Darnold situation is working 100% to them going to being a potential lottery team to me. So there's a lot to love about this roster. Johnny, what do you think overall? Do you think going with the receivers was a positive strategy, or do you still like, you're a good amount of at least a few running backs that you liked versus some other receivers here on the board?
Well, considering the fact that I've never won a Scott Fish Bowl, I've never won one.
You just had to put that in there.
Yeah, I've never won a Scott Fish Bowl.
I haven't either, but I'm a semi-finalist. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't proclaim to be all that. Just a C+ guy out here. Yeah, like I love the start at quarterback. I think Rashee Rice, that was definitely a reach. I love
it because it was before the suspension news. So that's
man. Hey, like I said, I ain't never won no Scott Fish Bowl. You just asked me. Hey, like it's a reach now, man. Hey, I'm just calling it like I see it. It was a reach. So yeah, that ended up being a reach. And obviously, if it ends up being 4 games, it ends up being 6 games. That's a bad miss right there. And I've been in that situation in this format with Jonathan Taylor. When you miss 6 games, that's a lot of time.
Smart though, right? Because look what he does after, right? Still a smart reach, in my opinion. Smart reach.
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the only thing I'll say is, hypothetically, Rashee Rice, whatever, he gets 6 to 8 games, right? Suspension wise. Garrett Wilson starts the season off, meh. even if those guys aren't like hitting on all cylinders, you still got DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Olave, Jennings. You know what I mean? So like the rest of this roster could pick up the slack for those guys if they don't start out.
Man,
really.
like like I said, like that it's a reach. Like it ends up being a reach now at this point. Like I think like that's one of the things that like people got to take into consideration, right? Like the information that we had on Rashee Rice is not it's not old information. It's information that we had. It's the same thing when you're looking at guys like Jordan Addison, right? It's the same thing. Like that there's probably something coming on the other end. Garrett Wilson, I love. I actually was just like, I can't even remember what it was, but like I was looking at like his stats, and like he's like, there's no way, like he really has a chance to lead the league in targets this year for the Jets. So like I love the Garrett Wilson pick for sure. DJ Moore, man, I think I've said this before. Like I'm a huge fan of his for sure. So I feel really good about that pick. Cortland Sutton, again, he's a guy that everybody knows that I got a lot of love for sure. And like now, like so now, like you talked about Rashee Rice, but now we're getting back into a place where it's like, okay, now you have Chris Olave. So obviously we know what the upside is, we know what the downside is. So like I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about that. Upside is like, hey man, like he's back into like that wide receiver one conversation, one of the top 12 wide receivers in the league. Downside is the guy doesn't finish the season because he gets another concussion. I mean, I think you got to roll the dice, like for sure. I don't mind it. Juwan Jennings, obviously big fans of his, but then now here we are again. We're talking about ifs, like if Stephon Diggs, is all the way back. So now we got two ifs, or that's our third if. And then we get to Michael Pittman, and now we're talking about if again. We're like, oh, if Daniel Jones is the guy, and if Michael Pittman can stay healthy, right? Like a lot of ifs. Jaden Reed, like again, like I don't hate him as a player, man. I just
he's not your guy.
He's not my guy, and at this point, like okay, like round 12, like that's cool, like that's cool. I ain't gonna hate on that. Keon Coleman, I do think there's definitely something there with him, for sure. Just on a lot of different, levels, with him. I think just watching him play in college and seeing how he looked like a complete grown man out there, and even had his moments last year, just in spurts where he was able to show that he was a viable red zone target. I don't mind him, and I'm pretty sure he had some pretty good numbers too against man coverage last year. I think he was one of the better wide receivers in the league against man coverage. And then you got Thielen, reliable. If you believe in Bryce Young and you think that like, hey, Canales is going to continue to keep this thing moving in the right direction, that's not bad. So I think like like again, like those earlier wide receivers, like they have some ifs, but I think he's able to do a good job at covering that up with those three wide receivers. I love Roschon Johnson later on. I think that's a really outstanding value. Daniel Jones should end up being the quarterback at some point for the Colts. And like, no matter how you want to look at it, like, did he suck in New York? I don't know. We all thought Saquon sucked in New York, and look what a change of scenery did for that man. Just throwing it out there. And then obviously the last couple of guys, right? Keenan Allen, he might not be playing on a team. He might be hanging out on the couch watching Sunday Ticket.
CFL, baby.
Yeah, he might. Nah, man, he'll be hanging out watching. No, he'll be watching the Ticket just like us, man. I think Tyler Lockett, like low key, like that could be something, right? Like I'm a big Cam Ward guy. I think he's going to surprise some people down there in Cashville.
Definitely is.
And then Noah Fant, like obviously not knowing the situation there. Who knows, man? You can throw him into that cluster of of targets down there in Miami with him and Darren rapping Forte, Darren Waller. Then Jalen Milroe, obviously, like that's a lottery ticket, and Juice Johnson down there at the bottom. Yeah. So like I don't hate his team, man. Like I think like the concept of it is good. I just like I get like PTSD when I see a team that like just fully committed to one side of thing, because I've tried to do that in Scott Fishbowl before. Like I've tried to commit to no wide receivers. I've tried to commit to, just hammering tight ends. And I think just really like the best thing is just balance. But again, I ain't never won no Scott Fishbowl. I'm just out here simply giving opinions for free. You know what I mean? Like That's what
No,
I'm
I think
at.
you're right. I do think in terms of like, I mean, you could, what, sometimes people just treat this as for fun. You know what I'm saying? That's like, they want to do it is for charity and stuff like that. It is fun. But honestly, it's like, I'm a competitive ass dude. Like, and I want to try to see, how I stack up because, like I want to find out. So, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think balance is the way to go. But because, some things skew towards a certain setting. But I think this year, I think running backs, they, if you get the right ones, they really could break towards your favor. And if you have a bunch of them starting every week, like, that should work towards your favor.
Build,
but
I can tell you, there ain't going to be a lot of people with this build. So this is absolutely going to be a different build.
Contrarian. Very
so
contrarian.
He absolutely has that going for him. So like again, like in a format like this, like you got to find ways to get different. And like, hey man, this is different. I don't want to say what it's different like in my mind, but it's different. It's it's different. Like, when people were listening to, mumble rap, it was different. Like, when reggaeton hit, it was different. Like, when people were trying to figure out like, what was the deal with Wayne? It was different like gangster rap. It's just different. And that's okay. Like I
different is good.
Different is good. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
Word.
Shout out Vince.
Shout out Vince for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I bet he's probably waiting to see my team and be like, I'm gonna like that.
Oh man, yo. Well, yeah, if you haven't done so, please follow us on X. You know what I'm saying? Tags are below. Follow our guy Mike Rip because he is the guy for sure. We appreciate him once again. Like, for real. Thank you once again, Mike, for coming on. We look forward to having you on again. Hopefully sometime during the season, if your schedule permits. You can follow him at Michael Rip. So that's RIPPE on the X. So that being said, Johnny, any final thought before we get the hell up out of here?
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna go back to it. Joe Mixon.
That's fine. In my take, I said we were talking about RB3. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, listen.
RB3 flex play, not my RB2.
Disrespectful.
You were until the injury.
That's right. And I'm still.
Now you're a fortune. Now you're a fortune teller. Now you can just predict. Now you got.
I'm not a fortune teller.
What are you gonna predict next?
I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not. I said what I said. Like this was a part of like the whole thing. But
what are you gonna predict next? I'm curious.
I don't have anything to predict next, man.
Not today, not tomorrow.
Nah, man. No, like
next week. Next week.
Yeah, we talked about guys that we like. We didn't really get a chance to like talk about anybody like like didn't like. So I'm gonna hang on to it. We got the expo coming up here in 2 weeks now. So I'm getting pretty excited about that. Got my invite to the Fans Classic actual. So like proud to be representing that. Put
who'd you go on
with Marcus. Yeah. So so pretty pumped about that. And then obviously getting the draft night out information. Finishing up Scott Fishbowl. Been doing Battle of the Sexes with the girls. That's been pretty awesome. My daughter literally, she was like, I think it was like the 7th round. She's like, what's that one guy's name? She was like, Pickens. She was like, before going to bed, she's like, let me get him. I was like, I said, it made me happy. It made my heart happy. But got the Warrior Bowl coming up as well. I think that starts on August 4th, slow draft. So yeah, man, I'm just like, I'm just out here drafting, man. Like this is the happy time for me. So I'm as happy as can be right now.
I ain't there yet. I'm getting close though, right? Because it's the happy spot for sure comes in like within the next couple of weeks, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the expo. You know what I'm saying? We go out, Fans Classic, draft night out. You know what I'm saying? Then it's our home leagues. You know what I'm saying? So it's getting schooling our league mates when it comes to that.
Oh man, I can't wait for those guys out here, man. They're out here creeping on the bushes, man. They're like, "Hey, man, we're watching."
Yep,
I'm like,
definitely are. They watching. Listen,
it's just gonna taste that much.
Take notes.
It's gonna taste that much better this year. That's it. It's gonna taste that much better.
Yep. It's like fine wine, baby.
That's it.
The bubbly.
That's it.
As your guy Jericho was saying, a little bit of the bubbly.
love it.
Yeah, well. All right, people. Well, we'll see y'all next week with another great show of the Fantasy Football Show. All right. So we'll see y'all next week. Peace.